Layout planning. It's easy, isn't it? Not much to it. Welcome to Wotton Tor. I'm Andrew. A short while ago I put up a video of the start of a remodelling of my layout, Wotton Tor, and I put up some initial plans of what I plan to do. I've been working on those plans and things have moved on a bit, and although the plan itself is basically what I showed before, I've had to do quite a bit of compromising, a bit of changing, and so I just wanted to show you how far I'd got, what I'm doing, and what the next steps will be. The first thing you see here is the space I've got to work with. I'm using the garage, as I said. So up here we've got the door into the garage door is down the front. It's a double garage. So I've basically got this grey area that I can use for my layout. The lime green or olive grey, or whatever this colour is. That's an area where currently I have quite a bit of storage cupboards and boxes and things, and I'm not sure if I can actually free up that space. So for now I'm trying to stay within this area mainly, though you'll see as the plans come later that I have encroached a bit here. The space itself is about just over 4 meters this way from the top to the bottom, and about just over 3 meters from the left to right. So it's a reasonable space and I'm quite pleased with it, though of course one could always do with more space. I've actually, this dink here is because we've got a breakfast area here in the kitchen, so that's not part of the garage, so the garage has lost that bit of space, but not to worry. There are power points just here, here and here, which I've had installed recently, primarily for the model railway layout, and I'm hoping I can use them. But I have to bear that in mind. So what am I planning on doing? Well, as I mentioned in my previous video, I'm thinking of having effectively 2 layers. The bottom layer will be the Fiddle Yard with helixes coming up to the Scenic Layer. And then the Scenic Layer may well be divided into a couple of areas, and again you'll see this as I show my plans. So the first thing to say, this is the room, and then if I display the next bit, so the first bit, those are the baseboards that I need, and this is my Fiddle Yard area, and here are the helixes. Now, if you saw my previous video, you probably have noticed that I was using 2nd and 3rd radius helixes there, where I've now moved to the 3rd, 4th radius helixes, just because of the better gradient and things. Whether I've really got the space on, I think I can squeeze them in, so that's what I've done. But as I said, that has meant I've encroached just here into that area which I was trying to save for storage and things, but I don't think it's too bad. It's about 25 centimeters according to Rail Modeler Pro, which is not too bad. Now, the other thing I've tried to do is make it so that the train, when they're coming up, are on the outside curve, using the basis that trains travel on the left in the direction they're going. So if you imagine here, and this is my west Fiddle Yard, because west is over here, east is over here. Then the trains travelling north would come round here and quite nicely go up the helix here on the outer curve, and the green indicates going up and the yellow indicates going down from my purposes when the train is travelling on the left. So here then, a train coming through here comes out. Now, if I just went straight there, it would then end up on the inner helix part. Now, the reason this helix is this way is to enable it to come out at this position on the scenic level, not here, which would have been a bit, well, I struggled working out how to use that. and here the helix is going out, so as you can imagine the helix will come here and eventually come up this area here. So, but to make this go up on the outs curve, I've put in a cross here. There's a crossing, so the lines swap. Now one thing I'm going to have to be very careful of is, of course, the wiring. As wiring changes, especially if you follow it through, when you get to the next layer up, you need to make sure the wires are going to be in the right place. I think it will all work, but that's something to do. Now, I have toyed with the idea of, with my helixes, what should I do? Should I use FlexiTrack, which is probably cheaper, or should I use SetTrack? What code do I want? I must admit, at this stage, I'm thinking of using code 100, and I'm thinking for my helixes, I may well use SetTrack, just because it makes it easier to put it together. But of course, code 75 is much finer, much nicer, so I might want to use that on the Scenic Layer, in which case I'll need the transition, which I haven't actually done or thought about at the moment, but that's something that's still being mulled over. But for now, I'm planning on using code 100, helixes will be SetTrack. A lot of the rest will be FlexiTrack, especially when you come to the Fiddle Yard and things. Now the Fiddle Yard, I've got, the intention is to have the main line, if you like, go straight through, and then there's 4 sidings, 2 on each side of that track, and then there's 2 lots of Fiddle Yards, 1 for each direction. So this is the one that's for trains going north, this one the trains going south. So that's where I've got to with the lower layer. What about the Scenic Layer? Well, the next thing to show you is what I've looking at is where the next lot of baseboards would be, which is like that. Now obviously there's some weird shapes here and things, primarily of course to allow for the helix. So imagine, because of this helix it's going to coming up in this direction here and come up here. This one is coming up here and come up here. Now the other thing it does do, what I've done is I'm going to have an upper layer again above this, so I don't need anything here, and I may well have some points, as you'll see later, so I need to leave access. And there's 1 or 2 things I've been looking at. Basically this point here on the top and the, if you like, on the north helix, and this point here on the south helix are basically at the same level below where these baseboards be, which is about 2 centimeters below the level of this board. And so obviously this board is not going to actually be there. There's going to have to be a bit of cutaway to allow for another gradients up here to make allowance for that 2 centimeters, and the same here to allow to come over here. But that's by the by, we'll see what we. These are just some general ideas of the baseboards I'd want. So that's that layer, but then what am I going to do on it? And the first thing I'm going to do is basically have this layout, which I admit looks a little bit, oops, sorry, I'm taking away the wrong, if I take away there. Right, so this shows the helix coming up in the south helix here, the helix coming up here. Here's that crossover, I had to replicate it here so I get back into the right point. Then a train coming up here will go along here, cross over, and end up going up here. So going up on the left, going north, and can then run round the layout. As I said, that's what I wanted. I did very much want to have a tail chaser, and not just trains coming up from the helix and disappearing again. Likewise, trains coming from if you like, from would be the West Fiddle Yard, coming up this way and will come up the helix here, come along here, and then are travelling on the left down there, and again go round. And then to exit, they've got the ones travelling this way will come off down here, get onto the yellow, flop over, and then goes down that helix. And anything going this way comes up here and goes off, and then goes down and down the helix. Now this is, as I said, where the helix finishes, and then this has got to be, this area here has got to be a bit of more rising to cape for about another 2 centimeters to get up to the level of the baseboard. And the same here, you've got about a room to get about 2 centimeter rise. Now whether I put enough distance in, time will tell. I think I can do around about 1 in 40, 1 in 45, which means the gradient shouldn't be too bad. The other thing I've had to do, of course, is where the main line, if you like, crosses over the helix, I've had to maybe raise it. So for example, this point here on the north helix at the top of it, north part, that's actually 8 centimeters below the baseboard. So by the time you get round to the other side of the helix, this point is 4 centimeters below the baseboard. But that does mean you'd have trouble with engines and things coming here. So this bit of track here, and hopefully you can see my cursor in the sort of going up there, the colored track has to go up. So again, if you're looking at a loco traveling on the left hand side, it starts going up here, goes across a bit of a bridge here, and then goes down here, and that hopefully gives me enough room to go up another 4 centimeters to make sure I've got clearance where the helix, or where the main line crosses the helix. Similar thing down in the south helix. Again, we've got the train coming up from here on the right. So when it gets here, actually, it's about 6 centimeters. This point on the right here is 8 centimeters below the baseboard. So here it's about 6 centimeters. So this one doesn't have to go up so much. So there's little rise and things. You'll also maybe notice, if I just zoom in, there's a spur off there, and you'll see what that's for later, because that's to help go up to another layer. And similarly down here, there is this spur. Now this is indicating it's coming down this way, and that's partly to bring things down from an upper layer. So that's the sort of base scenic level. The idea would be to have a river or something through here, and then sort of trains going through. Now, as you can see on this, I've not put any stations on yet, because that'll be the next bit. And so what I wanted to do then, I said I had this spur up in the north going off, and I have this spur down in the south coming back onto the helix. So effectively you can imagine a train coming up here, going off here, wandering around this area, and then coming back down to here, and then going down this helix, so it fits in. And the plan is to do something like this. Now, it maybe looks a little bit more horrendous than it is, but hopefully it won't. The idea again is, first of all, where the yellow and green marks are, where the rail tracks raising and falling, is to put in a bit of hill, and this would be a higher point as well above the helix. And I'm thinking this might be a church here, and again on this just above the north helix, with a road going through, and this will be a raise. My layout is called Wotton Tor. Tor, as you know, is an outcrop, so this would be Wotton Tor, where the church would be. Then the idea would be down on the south side of the layout, we have a town, or outskirts of a town, maybe with a canal here in the bottom right hand corner, station, some shops, roads going through. Probably this here, the red square, is gasworks. I think I showed that in my last video that I've had from John Simpson, that I very much like to use. And then the idea, of course, is have maybe a goods yard here, so there's loading platforms and things, a goods shed maybe. And the idea would be a train coming up from on the north helix could come up here, then it could come up and go up here, then it starts climbing here to a higher level. So again, that's the green, so we get to a level here. That gives me a rise of about maybe 4 or 5 centimeters. Time will tell. But onto this be level, and there's a line going around here, I'm thinking there might be a station up here in this corner, and there might be then here another loading area, goods area, something like that. That I will see about in the future. I'll consider. But anyway, a train can come up here, comes along here, goes across maybe a viaduct across the river. Then if I move on down, the train can come here, and now the line splits, and if it goes down on the east line down here, it will come through to a station which is the town station, or it can come down here and go to the gas works for delivering coal, for example, or it can come into the goods yard area. And again, a train coming down here, especially if it's delivering coal to the gas works, can then use the head shunt, come round and take the train back up again. Now the thing is, I want that train to be able to get back down again, so that's what the whole purpose of this part is here. If we look at it, this here just on the right hand side of the diagram, this is a return down to where the helix is. So my idea was a train might come up here, can come here, use the head shunt, come back again, couple up, go back down here, then back, and then follow off down here to the right. And this is a drop then, and again I've got hopefully plenty of space there to get down to the baseboard level down here with so I'm back into the helix, which obviously under here. My other idea is, of course, that it might have DMUs coming up here, can go round, can come down to this station, and then can trundle back up to this station up in the top right hand corner, then trundle back down to this station, back and forth, and eventually go off down the escape route, if you like, down here. So that's how far I've got. It's quite a bit different to my previous plans in respect of, as I said, it's got the bigger helixes, so that changed things. I've encroached here, as I said. I haven't encroached here, though. I'm toying with, well, if I've encroached here, maybe I could push this over a little bit. That'd give me a bit more space in this church area to do things, or at least have a track round. But there we are. That's where I've got to. I suppose the first thing I'm going to have to do is determine when I start building these baseboards for the lower Fiddle Yard. I actually have plywood. I've got some of these, for example this one here, these three, and this one I've got that. These are going to have to be made of they've got to, because they're the bigger helixes, they need to be a minimum of 130 centimeters square, and this one is actually going to have to be a bit bigger because of bringing the track, as I showed earlier. There we are, coming over, so that does give. Now this is offset slightly so that I could have my points, that point matching and things, so with this point. No, that's wrong, isn't it? This point matching with this point, that's right, sorry. So if we go back to here, yeah, so that point there has to be the same height as that point there. So that's why, and they're both basically, if we go back to here, switch this off. I said that point there and that point there need to be the same. So that's why, if you like, the helix rises by about 4 centimeters to there. So here, this bit from here to there has got to rise by 4 centimeters, which is why I've got the rising actually not just on the helix, but then that allows me to do the matching up at the higher layer. So there we are. That's the current plan is going to be something like that. I've certainly, if I better bring all the baseboards back in again. No, that's the wrong one. Is it that one? No, that yeah, there we are. That's all the baseboards, the lower ones and the higher ones in. It's about 50 centimeters there, so there's room to get about 60 there. So there's space to move around. That was one of the things I was looking for, and one of the things why I've gone for this slightly dog bone layout, because I didn't want to have to be ducking in and out. I decided it'd be nicer to just be able to go around. Of course, that has added challenges. I think what I'll be doing is I'll be starting off doing the Fiddle Yard baseboards and do the Fiddle Yard, putting the helixes in place. I've got to work out how much helix I actually need in terms of how many turns and that side of things. So I'll be bringing and then determine what I'm doing there. And then I will probably, after that, look at building this point. So it'll be the Fiddle Yard area first, then the helixes, and then this basic layer here, and then eventually look to put the scenery on and all that side of things, and all this track around here. So it's quite likely that this bit in particular may change. I'm quite content at the moment with my general run around loop here that I've got, and the ways I can get up to it from below, from the helixes, so I can run trains. But to give a bit more interest, I'm going to want to have the scenery, the extra lines here, the goods yard, maybe the grassworks, and the town with hopefully the canal and things. But all that will come later. How long it'll be, I don't know. But so that's where I am. I'm probably not going to be able to do much for another 2 or 3 weeks because I'm off on business soon, away, and it'll take a bit of a while. But my next job, I think, is to start doing, as I said, the Fiddle Yard baseboards, which if I can just go back to them, get rid of all these. So it's doing those, getting those ready, and then starting to look at putting the Fiddle Yard in itself and the track, and then looking to build the helixes, and then from there on. So plenty to keep me busy, I'm sure, and things may change in the meantime, but that's where we are at the moment, and hopefully this is where we'll be sometime in the future. There you have it, the plans so far. I'm sure they'll change again as time progresses. And of course, layout planning is not easy. It's not as straightforward as it could be, but we've got all the tools. We've got AnyRail on Windows PC. We've got Rail Modeler Pro on Mac that do a lot of the hard graft for us for making sure things fit. Both seem to work really well. I think it's fair to say when I put that layout together, or when I'm putting this layout together, I'm looking more what fun can I get out of it. So I'm sure there are some things that are not true to life, but I'm not too worried about that at the moment. Of course, if there's anybody who sees this video and has got advice and things, I'd be very grateful to receive it. But hopefully my next video, which I said will be probably in a few weeks' time, will be showing the building of the baseboards for that Fiddle Yard and the start of that. Though having said that, I do have a bit of tidying up to do in the garage first. I've got my existing layout, which probably needs a bit of dismantling and things, but not to worry, that's part of the fun, and hopefully I'll be able to get to that once I'm back from my business trip. Anyway, I hope everyone's well, and thanks for watching, and I'll be back at some time in the future, I hope. Bye.